Hello and welcome to Sports Recap, your favorite sports program on local television. I'm your host, Christian K. And with me on set, I have Dr. Audrey. How are you?
Hi, Chris. I'm very well, thank you.
Amazing weekend, isn't it?
It's been an amazing weekend of sport. I've actually just come back from Vegas, where I was at a conference talking about coaching. I managed to make a bit of the New York Marathon, though, because we stopped off at New York beforehand, so that was a lot of fun. And still managed to watch the race as well. So we're going to have a really great sort of half-hour chat about that.
Great. What about you?
Yeah, good weekend. Yeah, well, I had a birthday actually, Chris. So
Happy birthday!
Wow.
yes, lots of interesting stuff in the football. You know, the F1 I think was interesting in different ways, maybe. But yeah, lots to talk about. So yeah, let's get going.
Absolutely. Today we'll be measuring on Formula One. I want you to sit back, relax, watch the highlights of the Australian Grand Prix. We'll be back with more to talk on that.
Left-hand side.
So we have a great race, not only in qualifying.
Amazing job today, and it's an incredible feeling, obviously, to continue on from last year, but also to be up here with you, man. I thought you were taller. I thought he was taller on the Terminator.
When it comes to the next race, I'll be back, right? Okay. So let's say it together. I'll be back.
Welcome back. I know Sports Recap today is running slightly late, so an apology for that one. We had some technical glitch, but we're here to talk about Formula One. That's what matters, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. Very interesting race, I think, in the respect of 15 cars started on the grid, 11 finished. It was a real shame. I'm hoping that Malaysia will be the start of Formula One as we know it, with a full grid. It'll be lovely to see Marussia race on Sunday. But a lot of things have been going on in the backstage of Formula One that I think are quite interesting to talk about, really.
Yeah, I think it was a bit disappointing, actually. You know, I think we'd built it up, the press had built it up, the media had built it up, because, you know, last season was was interesting for different reasons, and we knew that lots of different cars were going to be competitive this year, and it turned out they actually weren't, and it was very much an anticlimax. So, as Audrey said, I really hope for Malaysia it's going to be the start of a fantastic season, because we know it can be with the cars that are on the grid, and with the drivers that are with the specific cars. We know it can be good. We want to be excited by it.
Yeah,
I certainly wasn't particularly excited by Australia.
About what's going on backstage. Well, didn't like it necessarily, but there was a lot of intrigue going on, especially with people like Van der Garde and so on. So that will be interesting.
Now, quick talk about McLaren. Poor performance. What do we make of it?
Well,
bottom 11th.
Yeah,
on
and
the list.
qualifying was horrendous for them both.
11 of 11.
11 of 11. Yeah, at least to finish.
You know, 11 of 18 wouldn't have been so bad, but 11-11 is not great.
He even said he was surprised to get to the end, because I think McLaren had only managed 12 laps prior to that. They did say that they had a better showing in Melbourne than they were expecting.
Absolutely.
At least he finished.
Yeah,
it was a shame Magnussen didn't even run due to engine problems. So it was disappointing. Eric Boulier has said they still have a lot of faith in Honda. Of course, they're supposed to say that, that they have no choice. But it's nice to know that they are still quite positive about it. They seem to have said they'll be up on form by Silverstone, which is July. That's a long time. Long time in company.
But then now, obviously, the one and only Alonso is about to go for the Malaysian Grand Prix. Should we expect something great from the McLaren? Is it bringing hope to the team?
No, I honestly don't think so. I really want to. I really want to believe that Alonso coming back is going to, make the car better, but it's simply not. And had he been in the car in Australia, he wouldn't have started, because Magnussen didn't start he was simply warming up and had to retire. So that would have been Alonso.
Yep.
For as much as I want to see them do well, the history behind McLaren and Honda, McLaren-Honda, you want to see them do well, but...
And it was all sounding so positive.
Yeah.
But at least Button got round.
Absolutely. Well, moving on to Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel says he's very happy but refuses to get carried away after finishing third in his debut race for Ferrari at the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne.
Oh, I was delighted. It was lovely to see Vettel back on podium, but now I'm a bit of a Vettel fan, I think, myself. But it was nice to see him. He did well. Shame about Kimi Raikkonen. The Ferrari was doing very well, and it was, unfortunately, the pit stop that went a bit wrong for Kimi Raikkonen, and they're still looking at whether he gets a 10-place grid penalty for the unsafe release of the pit stop, which resulted in the tyre being loose. I'm happy to see Vettel up there. It was lovely to see the banter between Vettel and Rosberg as well in the talks afterwards. And it was nice to know that Ferrari could be competitive. We may be seeing at least a little bit more racing this year.
Yeah, and that's what we want. Yes. As the general public, we want to see racing. We don't want to just see Hamilton and Rosberg. We want to see, 6, 8 cars fighting for one place. That's what is exciting. As a child, when I was growing up, you didn't know whether it was going to be Schumacher or Hill. Typically it was Schumacher, but there were times where you didn't know whether it was going to be him, and I think that was what is great about racing. So
the good thing about Kim as well, I saw racing. Well, it reached the point where it was the oldest guy on Formula One and the youngest. It was him and Verstappen. He did something great and he overtook. I think it was just the car that let him down, but he was definitely going to move forward in that.
Verstappen's doing very well as well. He's been the youngest racer to complete 34 laps. Sticking up with the top 6, so that's really good for him. And I think again that was a car failure, not so much him or any problems with him. So I think we expect great things from Verstappen.
We know that a car failure at the start of a season. Hamilton, 2014, went on to win the title. You don't know what it's going to bring. I think he had a good race. It was very unfortunate the car failed on him. In fact, I don't know if you saw, but Jos Verstappen, his dad, was typically livid in the garage, which was nice. It was quite a sweet reaction from his dad to be so annoyed that the car had let him down because he was doing so well. So maybe Max will
Well, then talking about Ferrari,
surprising.
who should we give our credit to? Should we give a credit to the constructor, Ferrari as a constructor, or should we give credit to the new engineer, or should we give credit to the one and only Vettel?
I think it's a bit of all three of them, really, because Vettel, as a driver, you have to transfer the feedback into something that's understandable for the engineers in order to be able to work from it, because the driver's the only person who actually gets to feel what the car's doing in the racing circuit. So I think Vettel has been doing very well there. Obviously, the engine's been constructed or reconstructed a little bit more powerfully.
I mean, I think I'd like to put a bit more praise for Ferrari, actually.
Ferrari.
You know, because last season not great at all, and this season, even with, I know they've changed 50% of their driver lineup, but with Kimi Raikkonen, he still had a better race than he did last season.
Yes, he did.
And so you've got to say Ferrari are potentially back on track to put some.
Possibly Arriva Bene is the one to thank, because a lot of things have been shifted around since his arrival. So well, I think we expect good things.
Disappointment for the Williams.
Bottas, which is a back injury, you can't really be helped, and I know viewers have been asking why wasn't a reserve driver put in, but you cannot put a reserve driver in if the injury has happened after the practices, after the qualifying. You cannot then put a reserve in, so Williams had to run without.
Yeah, and there's only so much success if you've got one car, you know.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Massa did great.
well.
Massa did brilliantly.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think he will continue. He will continue.
I
And
think
when
Vettel
Bottas
felt that pressure as well.
which is good.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a bit of racing going on, and when Bottas comes back, and potentially Kimi doesn't have an unsafe release in the pit stop.
Yes.
And Isaiah did really well as well.
Felipe
Very
Massa
good.
was brilliant,
Yeah.
yes, and the Sauber was really good.
Saubers were great.
Well, both finished. Always a good thing.
Yes, not many did.
No, exactly, not many started. Lotuses did terribly.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Not good.
No, but then we've always said about Pastor Maldonado,
Yeah.
always seems to crash and
Always.
didn't manage the first lap.
Yeah.
Well, let us quick move on now to Van der Garde. Now, Guido van der Garde says his dream of driving in Formula One has been taken away after agreeing to cancel his contract with Sauber. Let's talk about this. What role for this young man?
Let's put it into a little bit of context. Van der Garde was the reserve driver for Sauber back in 2014. He then alleged that he had a contract to drive for them, but around December they hired both Nasser and Ericsson to drive.
Yeah.
He then took it to the Swiss court, which upheld his contract, and he kept pushing it until Melbourne, where the Australian court also upheld that the Swiss court was correct in saying that he had a valid contract. He then decided to step back because Sauber did appeal the Australian court's decision by saying that it would be unsafe because Ericsson and Nasser had the chassis already set up for them. And what we'd heard was that Van der Garde withdrew in the hope of finding a more permanent solution. Then afterwards we find out that he's managed to settle out of court for something around $16 million, which is quite a lot.
There's something not quite right about the whole situation. For a start, I don't understand how Sauber, which is led by a lawyer, managed to have 3 contracted drivers in the team. It's just, one, I don't know how that happens. The second thing I don't understand is that if you go to a court and your case is upheld, I don't then understand why he didn't drive. So then he's obviously gone on to another court to have a bit more backing, which he's got. Fantastic. So why is he not then driven? And now we find he's settled out of court for 16 million. So there's something not quite right here, and I don't know what it is, but it's a very suspect story. You know, with all the hearsay that was going on, they did brilliantly. You know, and often with so much issue within a team, it can affect the results. It didn't at all. They had two cars that finished, but I don't know. I don't know what happened with Van der Garde. I really don't.
His career, do you think that's safe for him?
Well, unfortunately, I think it's the way he handled it all. He's released a statement. I've just got a little bit. I'd like to read from. He released it on Facebook, of all places, as well, so everyone is reading it.
Right.
But it was just the last little bit where he said. I would like to think that the values and business ethics that apply in any other business should be equally applicable in Formula One. There are numerous examples of talented drivers with good intentions, but without the sort of professional support that I've had, who've been broken by Formula One and seen their careers destroyed. It's a little bit of a backhand slap
It
at
is,
Sauber.
yeah.
Sauber has refused to comment, and really, if his career in F1 is over, you have to look at how this was all handled.
It
Would
will
you
be,
want
absolutely.
a
Should be blamed for that as well. I think the way he managed the whole thing wasn't really wise. I know that Sauber still has a responsibility. They've got still something to do with that. But I believe the way he went with it just didn't help him at all.
Well, I agree with yourself, Dan, in that it does seem a little bit suspect that you push it to the Swiss court, it's upheld. You push it to the Australian court, it's upheld. Why do you not drive?
Yeah,
Wouldn't it have
exactly.
been a great opportunity to just say, no, I'm going to drive, I'm going to do it. The Sauber did well, it came fifth and it came eighth.
Yeah.
He could have been one of those drivers, he may have even come fourth.
He could.
That would have proved himself as a Formula One driver, it would have proved that Sauber have made the wrong decision in not letting him drive. And then we hear he settled. That's a bit strange. And then to release this statement.
Let's quick move on
Yeah.
to Red Bull. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo came out sixth. Not good at all for him being in Australia. Now, what was that race?
Well, Red Bull didn't have a very good race.
But
I
then
mean,
before the race,
they had one car that didn't start,
Well,
so again we had that issue there. At least Ricciardo.
but then he was
raced.
confident before the race. Well, few press interviews, he was well confident knowing that he was going to be in the podium, but it just didn't work for him at all.
No.
I don't know what's going on with Red Bull. We were discussing previously that Christian Horner is maybe throwing his toys out the pram a little bit. You know, obviously they've had huge success with Vettel, and now Vettel's gone. The last season, of course, they didn't do as well as they might have hoped. But Christian Horner probably would have said, do you know what, we can deal with one season of not being competitive because we can make 2015 a competitive season, and they weren't. And so he's throwing his toys out the pram. He's not particularly happy.
No,
Is he going to hang around? We don't know. So something, again, is not quite right with Red Bull either. It's all very political at the moment.
I think because of time, we're going to watch this. We'll come back.
Sure,
because of time, I want us to watch the top 5 drivers in Melbourne. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Of course, that was the top 5 drivers at Melbourne, those who stunned the competition so far. Now, talking about top 5, did we expect to see Lewis Hamilton, number 1, Rosberg?
Yes, Hamilton and
Well
Rosberg.
predicted.
I think that's it.
Absolutely.
Number 3, who was
From
the third?
practice, Vettel. Yeah, from practice, very likely.
I was quite astonished to see Vettel. I didn't believe he was going to be there anyway.
Hoping for Red Bull, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I think
probably Ricardo.
he deserved it.
Yeah.
Because he had an advantage to be in Australia.
Well, yeah,
But
absolutely.
the car wasn't
The car
up to
just
it.
wasn't good for him.
No. So.
But I think if we look at the end of last season, when you had Mercedes, Ferrari, and Williams, or certainly Mercedes and Williams knocking on the
Yes.
door, we knew that. I say we knew. We predicted that Ferrari were going to come out and be fairly strong. So if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, you've got your Mercedes, your Ferrari, and your Williams. I think the standouts and the sort of the driver and the team that we weren't going to say we were going to be anywhere was NASA.
Yeah,
in the Sauber, which is great for the lower teams, the teams that don't have the budgets.
Absolutely.
The big teams do. And it's fantastic for him.
Isn't it quite boring to see Mercedes 1 and 2 position? I can't wait to see that change.
I think that's why I'm quite excited about Ferrari this year.
Definitely.
He has come third. Ferrari's made huge leaps over the winter. Everybody's been saying that. Sauber in particular have been quite surprised. And if Williams is as competitive as they were last year, then we should be seeing some racing. Don't forget that one Williams didn't start and one Ferrari didn't finish.
Absolutely.
So it could well have been Mercedes, Ferrari, Williams.
And Red Bull. Red Bull only had one car. So,
exactly.
you know, I think we have bigged the season up, and I think we're right to big the season up because we've got 4 or 5 teams that potentially are very strong. And it's very difficult to say that Mercedes aren't going to be 1-2. I kind of hope they don't win some.
I agree.
That's
because
what it wants, yeah.
it makes it more interesting.
Make it more interesting.
You know, that time where you turn on or you haven't watched the race, you catch up and you're thinking, has Hamilton won? Because we want Hamilton to win. I want Hamilton to win. It makes it more interesting viewing, and that's what was very disappointing about Melbourne. It was just the biggest anticlimax ever.
Surprised to see Philip and Massa then.
I wasn't surprised to see Massa up there because the Williams has been doing very well, and I suspect that the second Williams could well have challenged for 5th place.
Absolutely,
had it
if not higher.
Absolutely,
to be fair, yeah.
Yes. NASA was a surprise, but the Saubers did very well. Don't forget, this was a race where not everybody finished. 15 cars started, 11 cars ended it. And so to actually finish 5th and 8th for the Sauber, we could be seeing an interesting car. I know I called them IKEA cars, but we might be looking really good this year.
Well, I want us to move forward now. I want us to watch the 6th to the 10th position. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Back, of course, we will tell you who was number 6, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. But before we go to that, I want us to do our paper talk, paper review, and we'll tell you right at the end of the show who was number 10.
And number 11.
And number 11.
And number 11.
Guess who, okay?
Your favourite person.
Well, you were not prepared for that at all then.
Paper review.
Right.
Paper talk. Right, Gerard. Gone in less than 60 seconds.
My goodness, awful.
Awful. Red card in 38 seconds for a stamp. And he did stamp. I watched it. I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Was he actually just trying to get out of the way? He brought his foot down, didn't he? And he admitted it later. He did give an interview afterwards, and he was very contrite. And good on him, because a lot of players don't do that after they've got a red card. But to just be brought on, and I was listening to the match, and you had the commentator talking about how great it was that Gerard was on, and the crowd was cheering, and the next second, he was off. It's absolutely crazy.
But then that being his last game before going to LA Galaxy,
Real shame.
what a blow was that to his team.
Real shame.
Do you think the referee was wrong in one way or the other?
Not at all.
For that.
Not at all. I think
Standard.
Gerard might be in a sort of mindset of, do you know what, it doesn't really matter anymore. You know, he's going to end his career on a very good salary and a very nice environment. I'm not saying
But
he's
then
not had a
that
nice...
should mean something to the
It
fans
should,
because you're about to go.
Absolutely.
Then
Without a shadow, we talk about this all the time in football. It should, but it doesn't, and that's a big problem. I don't, you know, what can you say? I wasn't surprised when I
Manchester
saw it.
United a better side.
Well, I think
They're getting tighter, aren't
they are, and I think stuff like that happens when there's tension, you know. And if you're playing against a team that are putting pressure on you and are, you know, beating you, it's going to spark some fury, and you know, it's completely natural. It shouldn't happen, but it's natural because you know, anyone can lash out.
Yep.
Absolutely.
He shouldn't be lashing out.
No, he should
just
know better.
shouldn't
at all,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So-
But the referee was right to do it because what else can you do? Unfortunately.
So what do you have for us then?
I've got well, England point finger at Scots. So we're going to talk about the Six Nations. So the Six Nations provided a fantastic finale, a Super Saturday, you know, epic Super Saturday, shall we say? England narrowly missing out on the Six Nations title to Ireland. However, some of the players on the English team are now starting to point some fingers at the Scots and potentially the Italians for not really going out and fighting for everything, you know, on Super Saturday. So we have Italy crashing out to Wales 61-20. That's you know, a bit of a smashing. And then we've got Scotland losing to Ireland 40-10. And so, you know, the players quite rightly a bit peeved off maybe because they haven't felt that Italy and Wales have gone out and kept the margins small so that it will help the English go out and win. However, I think that the English, when they played the Scots and they played the Italians, played some great rugby, but I think they conceded too many tries.
Yeah.
And I think you've got to look at the performance you've given against those teams, and you can't point fingers at a match that you're not in control of.
It comes down to you.
You can
doesn't
only
it?
and the margins that the English had against the Italians and the Scots should have been higher, and that would have put them in a better position.
Absolutely.
And they would have then, you know, gone and won the Six Nations and potentially the Grand Slam had they beaten Ireland. However, I think it's a great building block for the World Cup. Obviously, the World Cup is starting in October in England. And I think it's a very strong squad. They've got really good strength in depth, and I think it's going to be a very, very exciting World Cup.
Yes.
I am really excited.
And what was lovely was Ireland's women team.
Ireland's
They won.
women team, yeah, they won as well. So a double whammy for the Irish and the Irish men and ladies teams. So
Yes.
yeah, congratulations to them. But England for the World Cup.
Well, I've got something interesting. Jose Mourinho fears Diego Costa ongoing hamstring problems could hinder his side chance of winning the Premier League. Is that an excuse?
Chelsea hasn't been doing quite as well as they perhaps expect it to or should have been doing recently. And also, just an interesting point to counter that in the Telegraph today was that Jose Mourinho, yes, he's talking a lot about the Premier League, but let's not forget, we don't have a single English team, UK team, in the Champions League.
At all, that's quite awful.
In the final 8.
Out,
That's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
So whilst we can throw all of our attention onto the Premier League, let's just face the fact that we're not the best of the best in Europe at the moment, and far from it. Chelsea was one of the first to be out, then followed by Arsenal, Everton, and that's it. So
I think.
I want Dan, do you want to give us a time? Do you want to give us a glimpse of Novak Djokovic, the Indian Wells? Tell us a little bit about
Wasn't
it.
he outrageously good? I mean, he obviously played Murray in the semi-finals and dispatched him, you know, fairly convincingly. And Murray blaming a slow start, you know, as Murray does, blaming a slow start. You know, he should know. If anyone knows, you can't slow start against Novak. Djokovic, absolutely not. But the final against Roger Federer was unbelievable. Novak was up 5-3, I think, in the second, and Fed went on and won the second set. I think at that stage, Fed had his time, and Novak was just—he's just outrageously good, and he dispatched
Verstappen's going to be
Federer in the
unbeaten
end, so.
for the next 5 years to come. But I want us to move now to Formula One. As we promised, we're going to tell you who went number 6. Of course, number 6 we had Daniel Ricciardo. Number 7, Nico Hulkenberg. Number 8, Marcus Ericsson. Number 9, Carlos Sainz. Number 10, Sergio Perez. And we're going to go to number 11 was Jenson Button. And number 12, who didn't make it, of course, Kimi Raikkonen. Well, that's it on Sports Recap today. But join us next week, Monday. We'll be right here live with a hot topic for our fans. Of course, that's you. And for myself, Christian K.
From Audrey.
And from Dan.
Enjoy the rest of the evening and goodbye for now. Bye-bye.